It wasn't the war itself that broke humanity. It wasn't the skies burning with alien warships or the crumbling of cities under relentless orbital bombardment. It wasn't even the callous silence as they swept across our colonies, exterminating life with the efficiency of a gardener plucking weeds. No, the wound that cut deepest came from our own. When the United Earth Coalition fleet fired its last rounds and made the decision no one thought they'd make, they left. Not just the soldiers, not just the rich or the powerful, they left. Everyone else. Billions stranded on a dying Earth, no transports, no food reserves, no shields to hold back the Keleth cleansing drones. Their last transmission was clinical, devoid of guilt or hesitation. Operation Exodus complete. Remaining assets are non-viable. May humanity's legacy endure among the stars. The betrayal was absolute. As the skies burned and orbital habitats fell like flaming meteors, those left behind learned what despair really was. There were no evacuation ships, no rescue signals, just a fractured planet drowning in ash and silence. In the ruins of Snow Paulo, a woman cradled her newborn beneath the wreckage of her home, whispering lullabies as the air choked them in. Mumbai's smoldering streets, doctors without medicine performed triage in candlelight, knowing every patient was already doomed. In Johannesburg, children painted messages on cracked walls with their bare hands. We are still here. And yet, in that moment of ultimate abandonment, something ancient stirred in the marrow of humankind. Survival wasn't enough anymore. It wasn't about enduring, it was about defying. The Keleth drones, designed to eliminate biological contaminants, found themselves in running battles with street militias armed with scavenged tech and sharpened steel. Entire neighborhoods transformed into kill zones, where traps and firewalls took down machines thousands of years more advanced. The Keleth expected submission. They found chaos. They found rage. They found a species that refused to go quietly on. The fringes of Earth's ruined orbit, derelict stations became strongholds. The remains of the lunar dockyards were repurposed by engineers who rewrote Keleth code to sabotage their harvesters. Across the Pacific wastelands, a network of survivors, children, elders, outlaws began transmitting on hacked frequencies. You left us for dead, but we are still breathing. That message spread like wildfire, intercepted even by Keleth arrays and relayed unknowingly across their fleet. For the first time in millennia, the Keleth faltered not from resistance they could quantify, but from a human phenomenon they had no word for, wrath born of betrayal. And when the Keleth adapted, humans adapted faster. The first revenants were born in the vaults beneath the Alp cybernetically augmented survivors, stitched together with alien tech and sheer human will. They were not pretty, they were not stable, but they were unstoppable. The revenants carried no flags, no insignias, only scars and the burning memory of a species left behind. And in their wake, whispers spread through the dying colonies. They thought we were finished. They thought wrong. It was in the charred remnants of Nairobi that the first Soulnet node flickered to life. Built from Keleth processors and human imagination, it was more than a network. It was a living archive of every story, every memory, every ounce of rage the survivors carried. Through Soulnet, scattered enclaves no longer felt isolated. They became a single pulse in the veins of a new, vengeful humanity. Farmers in the Australian outback received schematics for plasma torches from rebels in Siberia. Children in Detroit learned alien sabotage techniques from elders hiding in the Himalayas. Across the dead world, the pulse of connection turned desperation into unity. The Keleth didn't understand it. Their logic-based hierarchy couldn't process how an abandoned species with no command structure, no logistics and no homeworld, could strike with such precision. Guerrilla strikes dismantled their resource harvesters. Viral programs, written by teenagers in underground bunkers, turned Keleth drones into bombs. Whole fleets were lost to sabotage before they ever fired a shot. And when Keleth warlords deployed bioscourge storms to sterilize the surface, humans deployed countermeasures networks of high altitude. Drones pumping nanoclouds that adapted faster than alien code. Every loss became fuel. Every dead city became a fortress in the making. And in this crucible, humanity evolved, not biologically, but culturally. The revenants grew in number, but now their bodies were designed with artistry, function blended with form. They were no longer mere survivors, they were avatars of vengeance. Their neural patterns were uploaded into Soulnet so that even in death, they remained part of the fight. Legends grew around them, stories of revenants tearing Caliph war beasts apart with their bare, alloyed hands, of voices echoing through Soulnet singing war songs in every known language. For the first time in their history, the Caliph encountered an enemy they couldn't simply exterminate. Humanity had become a virus in their systems, a ghost in their machines, an idea they couldn't erase. And the message that spread across the stars broadcast from a cobbled-together antenna in the ruins of Cape Town struck fear into civilizations that once viewed us as primitive. You left us for dead. Now watch what comes for you. The final blow wasn't a battle. It wasn't even a shot fired. It was a revelation, a shift in the fabric of existence. When the first human fleets rose from Earth's orbit centuries after the collapse, they weren't made of polished alloys and clean designs. They were monstrous, jagged constructs of repurposed Caliph wreckage and human engineering brilliance. The Caliph saw them and faltered. These weren't ships, they were symbols. Each bore the names of lost cities etched across their armored hulls. Aleppo, Lagos, Los Angeles, Kyoto, names the Caliph thought erased. Names now carried like weapons, but humanity wasn't there for revenge, not entirely. When they breached the Caliph's home systems, they didn't bombard their cities or burn their archives. They connected Soulnet directly into the Caliph data streams and unleashed every memory, every image, every feeling of the billions left to die. The Caliph, for the first time in their cold, logical existence, felt guilt. They fell not to guns, but to empathy used as a blade. Whole fleets deactivated themselves. War beasts turned on their masters. Their empire didn't crumble, it wept itself into oblivion. And as their worlds went silent, humanity stood on their ashes, not as conquerors, but as witnesses to the truth that had forged them. You cannot destroy what refuses to die. The fleets of the new continuum didn't plant flags or build monuments. Instead, they seeded worlds with Soulnet beacons, promising to every life form that would listen, if you are ever left behind, we will come for you. No one gets left again. Centuries later, the galaxy would not remember the Caliph except as a cautionary tale. But the story of humanity, the species abandoned, betrayed, and reborn, unbroken, echoed in every language, sung by every voice. Because the truth remained simple, they left us for dead. But that's when we became unstoppable.